Welcome back to Books with Duddy. I'm back with my second video on Play Nice by Rachel Harrison for week 1 of October Horror Month. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about spoilers within the book, more why I did or didn't like characters, what I thought of the ending, etc. So if you have not read this book, I would suggest stopping here. I have a spoiler-free review up. But if you don't care about hearing spoilers, feel free to continue on. But let's get into it. So just as a quick rundown, this book is about a haunted house and a family who is estranged from their mother because she thought the house was haunted. The mother of the Barnes family dies. There are 3 sisters and then a dad and a stepmom, all of whom were estranged from the mom. But through some choices that Clio, the main character, makes, we start to learn more about the kids' childhood and why they're estranged from their mother, and more about the haunted house. And so the first place I'm going to start with is where I started in my review. It was that I didn't really relate to any of these characters at all. No one was really likable. I guess the only one that I honestly... Well, there was a couple of people that were likable, I should say. Austin, he seemed to be a good guy. Nothing really unlikable about him. Daphne was probably the person in the family that was most likable. She tried to keep the peace a lot and, ended up in the middle a lot. But she seemed pretty chill. And then, Tommy was okay. In fact, I'll say Tommy was definitely a good guy. Cleo was mad at him because Lita told Tommy that she thought Cleo was a sociopath or whatever, but pretty much the Barnes family just sucked, right? And I mean, Cleo was fine, but she's just so immature, in my opinion. I think she was 25 or 26 years old at this, and she acted like she was, like 19-year-old first year in college to me. I think a lot of us had phases like that, but I don't know. She was so vain and judgmental of other people and selfish and manipulative is probably the most annoying thing about her was just the way that she manipulated people, and she wanted to manipulate them. She thought, I'm gonna cry to manipulate them. So yeah, not super likable main characters for me. Now, with that said, I loved reading her mom's book and the annotations and, reading more about their childhood. I think it was pretty clear that their dad was, well, I can't remember exactly when, but well before it came out that her dad was pretty much a piece of shit. You could kind of see that coming. You always kind of know when somebody's like overly nice or overly good in these types of books. A lot of times they have some secrets. Now, the part I enjoyed the most about this book was the demon. I thought the demon was really fascinating in just the way that it communicated, through drawing these smiley faces or frowning faces and always saying hello. I really enjoyed that aspect of the book. One thing that I didn't understand at all was once her dad throws away the second half of the annotated book that her mother left her, and she gets a different copy of the book, and she's reading through the second half. And it appears that like the demon is leaving annotations, I think, into that second book, or already did or something. But Clio like mentioned it one time before she started. She's like, oh, but this book is annotated too. And then it was just like no mention of how weird it was. There was like hello in this spot, or this is my home, or, you know, these weird smiley faces. It was just like ignored that those were there in the second half of the new book that she got. I would have liked to have known more about why they couldn't exorcise this demon. We weren't really ever given a reason of why these exorcisms were all failing. Is this like a really powerful demon, or, you know, what was it about this demon that was so difficult to exorcise that made it so dangerous, even though it really wasn't dangerous to like Clio or her mom. So, you know, we go through this book, and it's obviously the house is haunted, and Cleo's going through it, and eventually the other sisters get over there, and, you know, the hauntings start going, or the demon starts going crazy, and, you know, the sisters are forced to admit that, yes, it is haunted. And then they just start bitching at each other, telling them, I think you're a sociopath, or, you know, I hate how you're babied and you manipulate, and, you know, all these things that they hate about each other pretty much are coming out. And the one that I want to talk about most is when it comes out that Lita, in fact, knew that the house was haunted. What the fuck? So you knew that your mom was being ostracized, pushed around by your piece of shit dad for how many years? And you just never said anything? What? I mean, Lita might be the biggest villain in the book. And the dumbest part about that is, it's like no one cared. They're just like, oh, you knew? Wow. And then they all make up, and it's not quite the same, but it's like, we're all good. I would be furious, fuming, livid if I found out that my sister kept something from me that would have enabled me to look at my mom in a way different light while she was alive. Like, Lita is the villain of the story. The biggest one. I couldn't believe when that came out. She's like, yeah, I used to see the demon too. What? And you let your sister go over there, you know, by herself and try to fix it up by herself and didn't say anything? You let your mom, you know, be ostracized? I still baffled by that. And that's why I thought the ending was so dumb. Is everybody was just cool with each other. And again, I know Cleo's like, it's not quite the same. You know, I look at my dad differently. But, you know, they're all just chilling. Okay. So I love the haunting aspect of this book, but the way that I feel like it dealt with the trauma was just, wow. Just to keep something like that, like Lita did, to fuck someone over, your mom, excuse my language, but for however many years, is just baffling to me. Oh, and then the other thing that I just couldn't believe, and why these people are pieces of shit. They're trying to sell the house. They're trying to sell the house with a demon living in it without, like, I don't know, like disclosing that or whatever. What? You either keep the house or you figure out a way to exorcise that demon. You don't screw some other family that moves in there that, you know, is going to get messed with by this demon. You just try to sell the house and we're done with it. Yeah, this family, the more I talk about it, this family sucked ass. You know, I was Team Roy, Team, you know, the mom, Alex. I don't know, Team Demon over this family. I don't know if I'll go that far, but this family sucked. Book was interesting. I enjoyed it overall, but, you know, I just would have liked a better family. Well, let me know what you thought about this book. If I'm being overly harsh on the Barnes family, or not harsh enough. But if you watched this long, I appreciate it. If you could like and subscribe, I would appreciate that. And I hope to see you back soon.